On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we cover a lot of OU stuff and the other big stories of the weekend in a jumbo version of Winners and Losers of the Weekend. And then we've got nearly an hour with Jared Followill and Caleb Followill of Kings of Leon about their new album and their love for OU football. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, February 25th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of February, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Now we're recording this Sunday morning. Please leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment. Also, if your business wants to advertise on the podcast, please email us at theoklahomabreakdown@gmail.com. Ted, we got a couple rock stars on the podcast today. How about that?
How about that? Gonna be awesome.
So we're going to start with a supersized version of Winners and Losers where we'll hit all the OU stuff. And then we've got nearly an hour with Jared Followill and Caleb Followill from Kings of Leon. So let's jump into it. We got a lot to cover. There are a lot of things that happened this week for OU and some big stories in sports this weekend as well. As always, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I think with winner of the weekend, you got to go with the Diamond Sports baseball and softball crushing it out there. Baseball team playing Wright State at home. They've got 4. They've got another one coming. But I think let me know, in baseball, is it good if you score 44 runs in 3 games? Is that solid or?
I have never claimed to be a baseball expert. I am the ultimate, what a lot of people would call a casual baseball fan. I'm also not a mathematician, but that seems good.
Yeah, they started off pretty hot on Friday night with put up a 20 spot on Wright State, and Wright State's a good baseball program. So pretty solid pitching, was really good. Got the opportunity to get a bunch of young guys into the order, and then they backed that up on Saturday with the doubleheader and put up 14 and 10 in both of those games. So the offense is clicking. They were a little slow getting started offensively this year, but it's starting to round into form, getting some good at bats. And according to everyone I've talked to, the pitching is deep. They've got a really good rotation this year. So pretty exciting with baseball. And then, softball just, they just run through everyone.
Baseball just needed to get away from Dallas Baptist. Just needed to get away from.
That's just Dallas Baptist just kind of resets your center a little bit, right? And then you go back to work.
Yeah. Now, softball, they're down at the Mary Nutter. I wonder how Patty feels about it, because you go to some of these big events hoping that you're going to get challenged, I assume. And Mississippi State gave them a pretty good game for a couple innings. But then the Sooners just completely walked away from them.
Mm-hmm.
That one was 9-3. Then you get Wisconsin 10-2 in 5 innings. The San Diego State game was non-competitive, 7-0. We're recording this before they play Seattle and Loyola Marymount. I got a feeling those aren't going to be close. I feel like Patty Gasso, she's tried her best to get this team into competitive situations, and they've had some. They've had a couple early in the season, but they just went down to the Mary Nutter and destroyed everyone, which I don't mind, but I'm not sure that's what Patty Gasso goes on those trips for.
Yeah, it's interesting. This year, their non-conference has, for whatever reason, just maybe not been as loaded as the last couple of years have been. So it's kind of interesting there, but the winning streak continues. They're going to keep plugging on and doing their thing. And I don't know, they're fun to watch. They've got another loaded lineup, and it's going to be awesome once they bring that thing back home. It's getting close.
I just don't know. When is the winning streak going to stop? I guess you can't make that prediction when they're the best team in the sport.
I know. I have this weird feeling about the winning streak. I want it to go forever. Clearly, I think it's awesome. But last year, it felt like that was the one thing that was like really stressing Coach Patty Gasso out. And maybe it wasn't stressing her out. She was tired of talking about it, and that was the thing that was kind of hanging over the season. Maybe like after you continued through it last season, like maybe that's not a thing anymore and they're not worried about it. But I didn't like how she felt about it last year. That's the one thing.
When she was on here with us, you could clearly feel the weight of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And when they won the national title, it almost felt like relief for that group, as opposed to, now don't get me wrong, they celebrated, but for Patty in particular, it just feels as that if as their profile as a team grows and it becomes a bigger and bigger deal, and you factor in the win streak and all that stuff, I don't know, it just feels like there's so much attention on this program, which is great. It's what you want, but Patty doesn't exactly love attention. I think she just wants to coach some ball and kind of live a quiet life. And right now she's the face of softball. That's what she is.
Yep.
And I don't know if she's thrilled about that.
Have you watched any of the New England Patriots still?
I was going to dive into it tonight. I heard it, the dynasty thing.
Yeah, it's good. And, it talks about, you can just, and they kind of flash back and show it, the demeanor of the team from the first championship to the second to the third, and how it goes from like this crazy wild celebration the first time and guys like celebrating, and then as they win more and more, it is not nearly as fun, and it's all about like just trying to live up to the expectation of doing it again. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting, and I can understand perhaps that mindset they're going through right now, or will be going through. So what happens when you got a dynasty, I guess, right?
That's what happens when you're on top, man.
Yeah.
The target is on your chest, it's on your back, and you are constantly in the spotlight. But they're crushing it. I mean, they look really, really good. So it's going to be another exciting year in softball. All right. Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
Man, I had to go with Oklahoma State. Hoops goes in and pulls the double on them, men's and women's hoops, get it done against Oklahoma State. The men in dramatic fashion, the women in dominant fashion. Pretty fun.
Javion McCollum.
Whew.
I have a feeling, remember, you're only down one. I've got a feeling that the plan was, hey, try to get to the rim. He's been good at that. Now, he wasn't exactly great at finishing at the rim in that game. You think about the one that he missed at the end of regulation. They end up going to overtime, kind of misses a bunny there at the rim, but got cut off. Had to shoot what he had to shoot, and absolutely buried it. How much fun was that, dude?
Oh, it was so good. My son walked into the room right as, that possession started. I said, quick, get in here. It's going to be the last shot. And when he hit it, we were both running around the living room. It was awesome. That was so cool because it did not feel good at the start of it. And he was cut off a couple of times and he was just trying to get to a corner so he could get around and gain an edge. And it's like, okay, I'm going to have to hit a step back, create some space backwards, and just pure. That was awesome.
I think my favorite part about it, there's all different angles of the celebration afterwards right there in front of Oklahoma State's fans. That's the good stuff, man. There is one guy.
He's like, ah.
You can see it in his eyes. He generally was concerned for his well-being as
He
OU's players came over and celebrated. And it was it was funny. There's also an angle of a lady. She's almost like shooing them, like, go, shoot.
Oh, it's funny.
That guy looked like
he thought he was gonna end up on the bottom of the dog pile.
Yes. Yes, but that is who knows the next time that Hoops will play Bedlam. I think it would be so stupid if they don't play it home and home every single year. But if that's the last memory for a while,
pretty good.
Good. I mean, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to be able to figure it out when it comes to hoops. Football is just a completely different animal when it comes to that situation. But I don't think there's any reason that we shouldn't see Bedlam hoops every single season. But if it takes a little break, is this how Oklahoma State football fans feel? Like you've got the last one for who knows how long?
I think so. And
now I'm not going to pretend that it's as big of a deal as football. It's not. I'm not going to pretend that, but it still feels good to be on the right side of it.
Yeah, and it's nice to do it. It's a little bit more satisfying to do it on the road too.
Oh yeah,
right. It's like it steals their thunder a little bit more, and it looked like it was a little chippy maybe with the student section as they were walking off the court there, but that was awesome, man. It wasn't a perfect game by Oklahoma. Obviously, I don't think they led early, 16-14, and then didn't lead again until like the last couple minutes of regulation. They finally clawed their way back on top, but we missed some foul shots late. But I'll say this: I thought it was cool that we were in one of those typical Big 12 hoops games where it's the slow grinder, and then some offense broke out late. We started going back and forth. That was exciting.
It was the last 10 minutes were really, really entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the more entertaining Bedlams we've had in quite some time. And a couple things from that game. Soares, he tweaked the ankle again with about 6 minutes to go in the first half. He was huge for them in the second half. I appreciate that guy's toughness. I mean, what he did in that second half was massive. McCollum, I think it says a lot about the guy that he missed as many shots as he did, but the one shot he had to make, right, or else your team loses the game. He buries it. That's big time. Hopefully that boosts him going forward. I would assume that is going to be something that will hopefully get him a little more back on track.
Yeah.
Jalen Moore, he was huge in the first half, keeping it close. Like Oklahoma State was playing really well in that first half, and Jalen Moore's production in the first half kept OU within striking distance, but it was all around. It's just a tough, gritty win on the road. That's Big 12 basketball.
Yep. No, it was. Jalen Moore, awesome again. I think we talked about it. I feel like he's their most consistent guy, maybe their best guy. Was huge, grabbing some rebounds, had a couple awesome, like that block shot he had on that layup was awesome. and seeing him elevate like that. I don't know. I'm with you though. I think that I feel like really the difference between what we've seen, like when we've seen Oklahoma at their best early in the non-conference, whenever they were, top 10, and kind of like as they've struggled and really had to battle here down the stretch, I feel like it's McCollum. And if that shot right there does what a shot like that often does and brings his confidence back and gets him back on track a little bit, can kind of bring them back and make them take the next step, which they're going to need down the stretch because they're not out of the woods yet. Like this win does a lot to get them, almost a locked in spot for the tournament. But I think you need one more, and one more is not going to be easy with what you got.
Now, I feel like we do a great job of being as transparent as possible with people that listen to and watch this. I can almost see your blood boiling underneath the surface when you pulled up the box score and the ad played in the background. Are you okay?
I'm okay. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. But I'm sorry about that. I was hoping sometimes it goes across and sometimes it doesn't. I was really hoping it did. You couldn't hear it.
I could hear it loud and clear. I don't know who that guy was, but congratulations on appearing on the podcast. I could see the just the small stress in your face where
start twitching a little bit.
where I thought you were going to throw the computer for a second. But the only other thing I have on that game, just an awesome win, but want to give Otega Owe some credit.
Yeah.
Guy has been really struggling to shoot the ball. So what does he do? Got to the rim. Got to the rim and had a really, really nice impact on the game. Now, was I thrilled when he fouled at the end of regulation with 3 seconds left? No, wasn't thrilled about that. But his offensive production, hopefully, just like we talked about McCollum hitting the game winner, hopefully him having that type of game in that type of environment, hopefully it gets him going a little bit, gets the confidence going, but used his athleticism, got to the rim, ended up with 16 points, and clearly the Sooners needed every single one of them, Ted.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's been really up and down for him and really for several guys. But yeah, he's got some really nice tools. He's got some good athleticism, some nice length. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the hope. And I still believe that when this team gets out of the Big 12, they're going to look a lot better than what they look right now. I still think that's going to be the case, but they gotta earn that opportunity, and I still think they can. I mean, it would be awesome if they could steal one of these tough games down the stretch. You got 3 top 10 teams you're playing down the stretch, so I think if you could grab one of those, it would be very, very helpful. So, and then you end the season at Texas. You got another home game against Houston and Cincinnati. And Houston won a tough one. They're a fun team to watch. But yeah, man, they're not out of the woods, like I said, but I feel much better about where they are right now.
So do I. Happy for Porter Moser and those players. That had to be. There are very few things as an athlete that feel better than going and beating your rival on the road like that. I mean, just very few things. So that was awesome. All right, let's get to my winner and loser. I've got a couple for each, right? This is kind of a supersized winners and losers. I'm going to start my winners with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Went to the back-to-back on Thursday night and Friday night, Ted. Now, Friday night, they destroyed a bad Wizards team. 147-106. They went 20 of 40 from the three-point line in that one, but the game that everyone wants to talk about is the Clippers win on Thursday night. That's what's got the fan base, including myself, fired up. They end up winning that one 129-107. Just walk away from them in the back half of the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. Shot the ball extremely well, 17 to 35 from three. The Clippers, who have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and Norm Powell's also, he does some nice things defensively. They've got some guys that have been truly elite on ball defenders. They don't have anyone that can guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was cooking everyone. And it was so fun to watch. Chet Holmgren was really good on the glass. He continues to just be elite when it comes to protecting the rim. Jalen Williams continues to be fantastic. He continues to just excel in the fourth quarter. Dort was burying open threes, but they made the Clippers look kind of slow and kind of old, Ted. That's what it looked like to me when the Thunder really started putting stuff together there in the second half. The Clippers they couldn't keep up.
Yeah. And I try to temper my expectations and keep it realistic, because one of the things that kind of traditionally has held up in the playoffs in the NBA is young teams have to earn their stripes a little bit, right? Whenever you get into the playoffs, it becomes much more difficult. Do you have any sense that this team is either going to run into that or may be able to kind of step around that traditional little bump in the road?
At this point, I think it would be very, very disappointing if the Thunder don't win a playoff series.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I think that is undoubtedly the expectation. Now, some people may say the expectation is for them to play in the conference finals. I'm fine with that. One thing you always hear about is how the pace slows down in the playoffs. And that was something that it was just obvious that the Thunder were playing faster than the Clippers. I think they outscored them 30-10 in fast break points. And they were just really pushing the pace. But the number one thing that stood out to me in that game was the Thunder's defense. Their intensity, their attention to detail, like the second and third efforts on the defensive end of the floor, that doesn't go away just because the pace of the game slows down in the playoffs.
It's true.
Now, it's impossible to measure how the guys will react to the pressure that comes with playing in the playoffs. But if the Thunder shoot the ball well, they are an extremely tough team to beat because of what they do defensively. They've got length. They're extremely active. They've got Chet Holmgren protecting the rim. The Clippers win. I know it's just a regular season win, but you can look at a lot of things in that game and go, that's a team that can win in the playoffs. I don't care how old they are.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. It's exciting times. I guess I'm caught between, right, getting too excited about the team and it just kind of being realistic with what they've got. I think you're right. Kind of the baseline expectation is win a playoff series, and I guess styles make fights. It always depends on what that matchup is, but barring some unforeseen hiccup, you got to feel like that's kind of the minimum expectation at this point. So it's fun, man. Good stuff.
Paycom was rocking for that Clippers game. And now with that win, they've got tiebreakers over Denver and the Clippers. So when it comes to playoff seeding down the line, you never know if that's going to matter or not. But it's pretty clear that having those tiebreakers, if that ends up being the difference between home court advantage and not in your second round series, like that's huge. So I'm really excited. Oklahoma City Thunder 39-17.
What's that leave? About 25, 26 games left.
Look at you and your math.
Is that right?
So 39 plus 17 is 56. Correct?
Yeah.
We're on the same page. How many games do they play in the NBA? Quiz.
82 regular season games.
Okay. So now this is where some people will just add to the 56 to get to the 82, or some people will go 82 minus 56. Which way do you go?
I add. Do you subtract it?
I add.
Yeah.
Which maybe is the harder thing to do.
Well, I just a little block math there to get to 76 and then just finish it off with your.
Is that the new math that they teach kids?
I don't know, but that's how I do it in my head.
Huh. This may be the worst minute stretch of this podcast ever.
It may be the best. This would be the stretch that would get the most comments and feedback, though. I guarantee you.
Yeah. Tell us how you get from 56 to 82. Tell us how you get there. Put it in the YouTube comments, people. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. As long as there's no injuries are always the thing that can derail a team, right?
Yep.
If they stay healthy, man, watch out. My other winner of the weekend, EA Sports NCAA Football. We've got details. Players are getting $600 and a copy of the game. Saw OU football tweet that, the team's in the game. EA Sports put some graphics out. Stutzman has opted in. Jackson Arnold, who's switching to number 11. How about that? Has opted in.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah, going from 10 to 11, his high school number. So you see Jackson Arnold and Stutzman, those guys have opted in the game. You assume that if those two guys are in, then we're not gonna have any holdouts for OU. It's starting to feel real. I have been reluctant. I've said it multiple times. I'm not gonna believe it till I'm playing the video game. But once I saw that type of stuff, it feels very real. We've got a dollar figure. We've got all these different details, Ted. I think it's about time to start getting excited about it.
Yeah. Did you see Fowler's little clip of him doing all of the voiceover stuff, 71-yard field goal and everything?
Because if you punt on second down.
Pretty good.
So it's gonna be awesome, man. I'm excited. I'm just excited for the game to be back.
I know it's cool, and I'm glad everyone's opting in. There's nothing to opting out. It's not like you're going to get another offer. You're just not going to be in the game. It's a pretty cut and dry deal. So I don't know. Hopefully everyone jumps in and has the opportunity to always be able to go back and see themselves on a video game. Pretty cool.
I think they're gonna, from the sounds of it, they're gonna make a couple guys ambassadors. Maybe some of the bigger names in college football. That way they can get them some more money to put them in the game or to help them promote the game. But yeah, it's all taking shape. Gabe's going to be back. Let's go. All right, let's get to my losers. Rapid fire. First one, court storming. The court storming discourse is back. Ted, remember we had the Caitlin Clark situation earlier in the year. Now we've got Kyle Filipowski, who is, by the way, is projected to be a first-round pick in the NBA draft, getting hurt after Wake Forest fans are on the court before the buzzers even sounded. Collides with them. I don't want to hear that it was his fault. Those people are not supposed to be there. He should be able to walk off the court without getting smashed by a Wake Forest fan. Like, I don't want to hear that it's Filipowski's fault. I think that some people are like, well, he tried to trip him and push him. I don't want to hear it. If that dude's knee is seriously messed up, which I haven't heard any details, that would be, I know this. I don't know who has to pay it, but someone's paying him a big check if something's actually wrong with that knee.
Right. Well, it sucks because I think the court storming thing it's one of the things that makes college sports, right? We see it in football. So that's an awesome part of it. But you also know that it's dangerous. And anytime you have a close interaction between fans and players after what I'm sure was an emotional end to a game that usually brings about something like that. It's dangerous, like for fights, for physical altercations, for injuries, running into people, not being able to get off the court. I don't know. I just wish people would storm the court with a little bit of respect for the other team. I get it. I know it's often a rival and it's emotionally charged. I would say, like, the only thing that you can do is start holding the individual people accountable that go near players. And if you make an example out of a couple of people and everyone gets the message, they'll storm the court and avoid the players like the plague. But you're going to have to make some examples of some people before you do that. And I don't mean the university pays a $250 fine. I'm saying you go after the person individually and put it on their head. And I don't know what protections are there and how all that goes legally, because I don't know. I guess it's up to the schools to protect the court. So I don't know how that would work. But until that happens, students run onto the court basically with immunity. And as long as they're able to do that, they're going to keep doing it.
I have always taken this approach. If you come onto the field or if you come onto the court, it is like international waters.
Yeah.
And you need to make a calculated decision if you're one of those students. Kyle Filipowski, if he felt threatened in that moment, he should have just punched that kid in the face. That's what he should have done. I truly believe that. It would have been better than getting his knee twisted up. Punch him in the face, say, I felt threatened. I was protecting myself. They have no rights on the court. None. So that's that is my advice is, this doesn't sound good. Violence.
Yeah. Hey, I was about to say I always endorse violence, but that's not true. I don't. It would be interesting though, like he would put himself at threat to be drugged down by a bunch of minions. It would look like 300 whenever they're attacking that big monster and pulling him down with a bunch of people a foot shorter than he is or more.
I just think, and I'm joking. I don't think Kyle Filipowski punching that kid in the face is the answer, but I don't think you can do anything about college students storming the court or storming the field. I think it's very difficult to do. Now you got to have a better plan in place clearly than what Wake Forest had, but I don't want it to go away because it's great.
I agree.
It's great. But some of these kids, you got to make better choices when you get out there. Don't get near the players. Don't do it. And I think that if a couple of people choose to do that and get close to an athlete, what happens, and they should not be punished for anything that happens. Nothing. I mean, nothing. Now, don't kill anyone. Now, let's not be ridiculous. But I truly believe that if a kid is sprinting at you full speed and you feel threatened as an athlete, whether you're a football player or a basketball player, and you punch that person straight in the face to protect yourself, after watching what happened to Kyle Filipowski, I don't think that athlete should be punished at all. And if kids know that there is a small threat of getting punched in the face by a giant college athlete, they may veer away from them. So maybe it just takes one guy to smoke some dude straight in the face right between his eyes to maybe change some of the behavior. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while since LeGarrette Blount at Oregon punched someone on the field, right?
Yeah.
I guess it needs to happen every every couple generations of students that come through, college sports.
Ugh. The best scenario would be a college wrestler rushing the court and be like, punch me in the face.
But that's what I was going to say. Is like, I you may
Could create some bad situations. I know.
yeah, but the point is correct. I'm with you.
Long live court storming and field storming, but
Mhm.
just got to get some of the finer details worked out. If something's actually wrong with Filipowski's knee, I don't know who's on the hook for that insurance claim, but Wake Forest is going to be someone associated with Wake Forest is going to be stroking a big check.
I can't imagine because he's a
He's in
lot.
like the top 15 of every NBA mock draft I've looked at over the last couple of weeks.
So the insurance policy that he has to be probably a 5 to $10 million policy.
Have fun, Wake Forest. My other loser, Fanatics. The Major League Baseball jerseys are hilarious. The names and numbers are comically small. The pants are showing a lot.
Everything.
I never thought I'd see so much baseball uniform discussion, Ted, but people are legitimately mad. And when you see the side by sides, they're right. They look awful.
Yeah.
They're taking some of the embroidery away, like the stitching, which is what makes baseball jerseys feel awesome. What are they doing? I'm convinced it's going to get fixed, but my goodness, not exactly the headlines you're looking for if you're Fanatics or if you're Major League Baseball. Everyone's laughing at them.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess like the theory was they wanted like a lighter, cooler fitting uniform, and I guess they got that, but you know, it's interesting. It feels like if you're going to change something, you have to make a change first that everyone absolutely despises, and then you find the middle ground between what you presented and what you used to have, and you end up finding the right thing, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, it is interesting how vocal they've come out against a uniform change, which is rare. Like it's rare that you get such a dramatic change in the first place, but it's rare that so many people have come out on one side of it that they hate it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I would assume something's going to happen. But my last loser of the weekend, the NCAA. There are no more rules. There's no rules anymore, right?
For the time being, yeah.
Judge in Tennessee granted a preliminary injunction that, quote, prohibits the NCAA from punishing any athletes or boosters for negotiating name, image, and likeness deals during their recruiting process or while they are in the transfer portal. Now, preliminary injunction, that means it is not a final ruling yet, but we know where this was headed. The judge referenced federal antitrust law, and the Supreme Court has already told us that the NCAA is going to lose every case. So, NIL, that pitch is now going to be a big part of the recruiting process, like it already is. All I ask is that it just becomes a part of guys' official visits. I've said it multiple times now. Just make it something that takes place on a guy's official visit. That is a meeting you have. You sit down with the collective and the coaches, your parents are in the room. Everyone is on the same page. Hey, this is the position you play. This is how we value that position. This is the type of NIL you are looking at, which it's really not NIL anymore. It's just this is the type of payment you're looking at. Just put it all out there. And now, until there's a final ruling on this thing, that's all good everywhere across the country. It's not just in Virginia and Tennessee. It's everywhere. So, yeah, I think we're ended up exactly where I thought we would.
Yeah, and there was some people cheering this as good. I don't know if it's necessarily good. I think it's where we knew we were going to be going, but I essentially now, at least during this time period, the way I gather it is you can call people on that are currently on rosters and say, we've got a big NIL deal for you if you want to come here. The way I gather is like it is absolutely open season. So like we've been trying to rein this thing in a little bit, like because it's been the Wild West, and now it's even more so or worse. I don't know for the time being, but college football has wildly spun out of control, and I don't know how they rein it back in until they like the upper tier division that they've talked about. Until that happens, I don't think you have a chance to rein it in. It's just it is what it is at this point, right?
It's only going to get worse until the players and employees.
Mm-hmm.
And things are collectively bargained, and then you can put rules in place. I do not think the federal government is coming to save the NCAA. In fact, the Supreme Court told us that ain't happening. So the system just has to dramatically change. And if they keep trying to say they're not employees, they're just going to keep losing every single court case. And the restrictions are going to get looser and looser and looser. We are headed to a point where a guy can transfer within the conference during the middle of the season and play for someone else
because of money alone, right?
Because the NCAA cannot regulate these guys' earning potential. That's what these court cases keep saying, Ted. It's the same ruling over and over and over again. Do I like it? No, I'm not saying I like it. That's the reality of the situation. This feels like it does get us closer to the athletes being employees,
which is what they want. Or not athletes. This is what like the athletic departments want at this point. And
I completely agree.
I guess I could speak for all of them, but it's what a lot of them want, because as soon as that happens, you can start to put guardrails in for everyone.
And there's no limit on transferring right now. Just a reminder.
Yeah, because of the West Virginia one, right?
Yeah, another thing going on. So it is freedom of movement right now in college football, and the NIL piece of it. Players will now choose where they feel most comfortable, where they like the coaches the most, and where they can make the most money. Just like the rest of us picking a job, and being a college football player is a job. We lived it. It's a job. So there's parts of it I really like. There's parts of it I really don't like. But this is the reality of the sport right now. Anyone that was hoping that the guardrails would be put in place saw this and went, oh no, these aren't guardrails.
No, there's nothing in place right now. Like there's a lot of things that have happened over the last, I don't even know that it's been a decade, but the thoughts of college football, like going back to, or like being and I don't know that it's ever been true, but like the purest form and what it used to be like, it's not going to happen. And I hate that. The sooner we all like ditch that hope, the more comfortable it'll be. But it's hard. I understand it. for the longest time, it was about school, it was about tradition, it was about, you know, watching your young players come in, develop, turn into great players as upperclassmen. Like that, I just don't see that a return to that type of sport. It's going to be money driven. Who's got the most is who's going to buy the most players, and even if they get it to where they're employees, I still believe collectives are going to exist. And let's say you make $100,000 a year as a player through the university. Well, hey, at this place, we can, on our collective on top of that, can give you 50, 100, $200,000 on top of it because of how much money we've raised. Like that's still always going to be a part of it.
It will just be labeled as marketing now, endorsements, which is what
Right.
it is now. Right now, it's just straight up payment for. I don't even know if any of these players anywhere across the country are really doing anything for the
No
money.
one's done anything. Have you seen any like no, it's the same as it's ever been. I mean, the only hope where you can maintain a little bit of traditional college football is they have to find a way to eliminate the transfer portal. Now, I'm not saying that you can't transfer, but there needs to be a penalty outside of like extraordinary circumstances. You need to lose a year of eligibility when you transfer, just like you used to.
That can't happen until they're employees.
Correct.
So I don't know what it's going to look like. I got no clue, but I know this. I know myself. As long as there's guys running out onto Owen Field with OU on the side of their helmet, I'm in. If it's semi-professional football, okay. But the connection I have with OU football, the connection I've always had, I've had a connection with OU football my entire life. It has been one of the most important things in my life for my entire life. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not going to watch or still feel extremely passionate about it, even with all these changes.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep watching. We're going to keep talking about it. But yeah, is it ever going to feel the way that it did 10 years ago? I don't think so. I think that feeling, I don't know if you want to call it purity or whatever you want to call it. It's not dirty now. It's just different. But a lot of the reasons we all loved it 10, 20 years ago, we're just going to have to find new reasons to love it. And I
You
think we
did.
can do that.
Yeah. You did say something though that is a very important distinction that I think will come up whenever the negotiations or whatever happen. You have a very close, tight connection, and no matter who runs out on the field, if they're wearing OU, you're going to be there watching, cheering, talking about it. That's important because we get into this conversation about like who deserves the money. The fans in college football are fans of the team, whoever makes up that team. And it cycles a lot. It's not professional sports. They are there to support Oklahoma. So it's like a different distinction than professional sports. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And
Cheering for the logo.
Cheering for the logo. And it doesn't matter who's wearing the logo. that's where I think it gets kind of dicey, as it's almost like a chicken or the egg type of situation, right? With the players, like, yeah, you are the sport and it doesn't happen without you. But at the same time, those people are going to be there whether you're there or not. It's kind of a little bit different model. So that part of it is interesting.
Are you feeling a little depressed after this conversation?
No, I'm
Okay.
not, because I'm hopeful that we can get to we've gone from players get nothing, you get your education, you play college football, that's awesome. We've gone from that side and we've switched to the far other side where the players have all the power, they can go wherever they want, it's money driven. I think you've got to test both sides before you find the equilibrium where things actually end up working. And for the most part, people are happy. So I think we're testing both sides, and I think we're going to find equilibrium at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think it's going to move quickly. It just feels like it has to. But
it feels like by the time they settle on like the next, like we got 2 years in the 12 team playoff, right? 25 or 24 and 25. I almost feel like everything's going to be settled by 26. Is that kind of where you are?
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's like we've got 2 years to figure this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
The clock is ticking.
The clock's ticking.
Let's talk to our boys from Kings of Leon. But first, Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. Just download the Love's Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Love's Connect app unlocks exclusive deals can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Love's Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Amore.
And celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU athletic events, at the bar, tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit schoonerale.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day.
And Simple Modern is an Oklahoma-owned company founded by former Sooners, and their mission statement is "We exist to give generously." And they've given millions away in product and donations to nonprofits all over the state and all over the country. Simple Modern is a great company with a great mission, and their products are also the perfect swag for any small business owner. You can customize tumblers, water bottles, and coffee mugs to give to current or potential customers. They will love the quality and how trendy they are. Check them out at simplemodern.com. All right, here is Jared Followill and Caleb Followill of Kings of Leon. It is our pleasure to be joined by two rock stars that are also massive OU football fans. Jared Followill and Caleb Followill of Kings of Leon are in the house. New album is coming out May 10th. New single is dropping on the 22nd. Boys, how we doing?
Doing good, man.
Very excited to be here. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well,
we're gonna talk
times.
music. We're gonna talk music first, right? That's our plan.
Oh yeah.
We can, but I want to just start by saying, like, I've done a lot of interviews. Doesn't matter if it's, your 60 minutes or if we were talking to Oprah or whatever. Not that we've ever done that, but this right here is like, this is the most special to me because I watch you guys all the time. When y'all gave me a birthday shout out, it was like, I just walked around the house, my kids, I had like highlight tapes of y'all. I was like, look, that's him. He said my name. So this is cool, man.
Well, hey, that means a lot to us. Okay, that's awesome that you guys listen, and we knew someone was out there listening. We weren't sure who it was, but we knew they were out there.
If there's 2 less listeners this week, it's because me and Caleb are here doing it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I expect you guys to listen to your own episode. Okay, just you got to keep helping us out. Now, I do not know a lot about music. I certainly do not know a lot about putting an album together. So that's where I want to start. What was the process like for you guys starting working on this album? Like, do you just go to each other and go, okay, time to start working on it? Or what is the catalyst to start working on a new album, especially this one in particular?
Oh man, it's always a little different. There's just kind of like a little bit of a seed that starts to be planted. And usually whenever I have a few ideas together and I'm feeling good about it, I'll call the guys and say like, hey, I want to show you guys some stuff. And sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. But January of last year, we had done a tour in Australia and I had like some ideas kicking around. And so we got home from Australia and did the holidays, and the songs were I felt something special, different than what we've had before. And I called Jared and I was like, come over to the house. I want to show you some stuff. And so he came to the house and I played him a couple of ideas. I don't even know if any of them actually made the album because it was so early in the process. And then just called the other guys and booked like a little cottage and said, let's go get together. Let's go record one song. And as soon as we got in there, we kind of knew like, oh, we're doing an album. And it was, I don't know, man, it was a different experience than previously because we kind of went into it saying like, all right, we're all going to go for something here. We're going for greatness. We're not going to stop until we get there. Being in a band, you already have a bond like no other. Being brothers, you have a bond like no other. And I told them, I was like, guys, if we all focus on the same goal, who can stop us? No one can stop us. We have so many things working in our favor. All we have to do is just commit to something. And we all committed, and the process was enjoyable. We loved it. We were working until the last second. It was like, no, we got more songs. We want to keep going. We want to keep going. And it was just a special time. And I think you'll be able to hear it in the music. There's something, more to this than albums in the past.
Where do you think that comes from? I know music is what you're listening to has a tendency to maybe show up in what you play. There's, you get a bunch of influences from everywhere. Is there something maybe that changed? You opened up to something new and got a different creative process going?
It was a little bit different this time because we were kind of, we did our first 7, 8 albums with a label that we were with. And then this one, we were kind of in between, like in a little purgatory world. So we went in differently, but there wasn't as much pressure because we didn't really have to do it. Normally it's like, okay, we got to go make an album and, you get one song. This one, we were like, let's go make a song, and we got an album. But no, you try to link up before the album comes. So we'll try to get on the same musical page and talk about stuff we're listening to, and we share playlists around with each other. And Caleb had a bulk. He had like a lot of stuff built up, and so I went over there and listened to a lot of it. And then, we'll all have, like Matthew will have a couple little guitar ideas that when we get in the rehearsal space, that might blossom into a song, or a couple of bass ideas that might blossom into a song. But yeah, it wasn't necessarily that different this time around, except for just a lot less pressure. We weren't going in
Yeah, I feel like there was what he's saying, the less pressure. I agree with him, but there's also like the fact that we were kind of free agents or whatever, and we were doing it for ourselves. I did feel a different kind of pressure, but it wasn't an outside pressure. It was all right, let's show people what we can do. We've got 20 years under our belt of experience. We've done it all. We've seen the highs, we've seen the lows. Let's put it all together. But one time, let's just put it all together and just go and give it everything that we've got. And I read this book about creativity, and it really opened me up. And so I got Jared a copy, Nathan, Matt, our producer. I was giving out copies like I wrote the book. It's called The Artist Way. But you read it, and it's kind of like one of those books where you read and then you apply it, and then you read a little more and you apply it. And it just opened this childlike wonder in me. And I was like seeing things differently, like the struggles of the world and all of the crap that we all deal with. It all just kind of made sense in a different way. And I don't know, it just opened me up to kind of want to embrace the reality of the situation. And just kind of, I don't know. It was like a weird thing. It was just one of those things where I felt like a kid in a candy store, and everyone jumped on, and we just had this thing where we were finishing each other's
sentences,
that kind of stuff. And it was just happening and clicking, and it still is.
Definitely caused a lot of synchronicities and just weird stuff that just kept popping up. And I think that that's a real thing, and we're all reading the same things and doing kind of like the same exercises every day, and morning pages. We would all write 3 pages. We turned into some weird hippies, but it did get the vibrations real good.
I'm going to wait till after the spring game so I can see who's all on the roster, and I'm getting a copy for everyone on the team. So
we're
going natty. First year in the SEC.
We'll get there, boys. Don't worry. We'll get to the OU football stuff. But a few more dumb music questions before that. So, Jared, you and you're one of my closest friends. You're the best man in my wedding. And this is by far the most excited I've ever seen you for new music. What has you so excited about this album?
I don't know, man. It just felt good. It felt different. The whole process just felt like very light and not heavy and not dark. I don't know. It's really hard to explain. I think we worked with a new producer, and he brought in a lot of positivity, and just the guy is really good too. And he kind of just massaged us and brought out things in us that we haven't done in a long time. And just he was just on board, super on board with everything we wanted to do, anything we wanted to try. He didn't say no. He didn't make you feel, any kind of way. And I don't know. It just feels like we got some songs. It feels like with you guys, it's like when you have a good team and you're excited, and before it's fall camp, you're like, this could be something. You don't want to hype it up too much, but there could be something here. This could be a big year, and you just feel
the vibrations were very high. Like we were buzzing, like on the way to work. And it was Nashville in the wintertime is not the most beautiful. It's like Sleepy Hollow, dark, low hanging fog. And we were driving to the studio every day. And I mean, it was one of those things where I would hear a song, instantly be inspired by it, apply it, go in there, boom, we would have a song come from it. And then the next week, I would hear that song and be like, oh, I don't even get that anymore. It was just like it was a source of inspiration. Boom, used it, done away with it, next one. I will say, I have children. I have a beautiful wife. amazing life, but it was definitely core memory. One of the greatest periods of my life was making this album.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm anxious to see, like, explain to us the difference. Maybe, I don't know, you guys have done a bunch of albums. I don't is there a different producer on all of them? Like, how does that affect the sound that you guys want? And sometimes maybe a producer has their thumb on different parts of it, and maybe you end up with something that was different than what you first envisioned. But it sounds like that wasn't the case here at all.
No, early on, we worked with a dear friend of ours, and we did a few albums where he was a part of it, either producing, co-producing, or something. And then we moved on to another producer, amazing producer. And I feel like the period that we were working with him, maybe I can speak only of myself, but just I wasn't there. I wasn't 100%. I was kind of doing my thing and doing what it took to get by. But before we started this album, before we had even decided if we were going to use Kid Harpoon to produce the album, it was one of those things where I looked at the guys and I said, for the first time ever, I was like, I don't care who produces this. I really don't think anyone's going to mess this up. I feel like whoever we go with, they're going to feel what we are feeling, and it's going to be a success, even if it's just a success as far as the process. I felt like this is one of those things where we are in control of our own destiny right now. And then we brought him in, and it was on top of that. It was like, oh, wow. And this guy's bringing the juice. It was just like there was just a youthful thing. We didn't get caught up on stuff. We didn't let like a little obstacle slow us down. It was like, all right, boom, next one. Put that on the back burner. We'll come back to it. If it's still making us feel something, then we'll work on it. And it was seriously up until the last seconds. It was like, all right, we have one more idea. Let's go try one more thing. And right at the end, there were two songs that really put a bow on it and made us all go, all right, it's complete. Now let's keep moving on to the next thing.
Obviously, Kid Harpoon is hot right now. When you look at what Grammy for Album of the Year last year with Harry Styles, won Record of the Year with Miley Cyrus this year at this year's Grammys. Is that something that affects the way that you guys collaborate with him, knowing that he's got those skins on the wall, or were you just so confident in what you were doing that you didn't even really think about that? Because I just, there's a difference if a coach that walks in, that's won 2 national titles, is saying something versus a guy that hasn't. That's just kind of, I think that's just human nature. Did that affect this process at all for you guys, knowing that he's had the success that he's had recently?
So we had agreed, or like not agreed. We had talked with him, and we were going to make music with him, or do at least a song or a few songs. And that was in January of 23. So after we had already signed on and were in communication, sending stuff back and forth, he went to the Grammys, swept with Harry. And we're like, oh, that's awesome, dude. Good for Kid. Hopefully he doesn't, walk in thinking he's better than us. But
we did have him widen the doorway to get his head through.
But no, so then when we were working with him too, he was writing some of the stuff that won Grammys this year. But so it didn't really come into play, but it is awesome. It's great just because, he's riding a big wave and having somebody who's riding a big wave in there with you, positive, his vibrations are super high. It kind of makes you all like, yeah, this is awesome. You know, we felt like we were riding a big wave. He's riding one. Let's combine the waves in a little tsunami.
I see what you did there.
So have you guys heard some stuff that he had produced or written or been on before and thought, hey, that's like, how does this interaction start where he ends up, being the producer? What was the genesis of that?
I didn't know anything that he had done, but I don't know anything that anyone has really done. I'm very behind. Like one of the bands that I was like listening to and getting really inspired. I was looking through, so it's 2024 now. We have a television appearance coming up, and I was kind of bored, and I was like, all right, well, let's look at like what were the big records in 94. So I looked, and was that a year? My God. From your Pearl Jams to your Weezers to your everything was 94. I was like, all right, so let's look at 2004. And then I got to 2014. I was looking at 10-year spans. And then I discovered that the band that was inspiring me so much while I was writing is actually from 2014, and they've already broken up. And I was like, oh man, I'm way behind on stuff. But I always thought Kid I knew he produced the Harry stuff, but he also wrote. So I knew he was a songwriter. And that was a thing where I was like, oh man, I don't want that weirdness, if it's like he's going to come in and be like, hey, I have a song. Do you guys want to? But that never happened. He kind of came in, knew that it was like, all right, these guys are doing something right here, and I'm going to use my expertise to take it to the next level. And it was a joy, and he's awesome. And hopefully we get to work together again. But yeah, seeing all his successes, like Jared said, it all happened after the fact. So when he did win the Grammys, we still were like, hey, we've got 4. So and he won this year. I'm like, damn it.
But if you pull all of ours together, it's like 16. We just all bring them from our houses.
You've got 16 trophies.
Work that way.
Yes.
I like that. We'll get you back to the interview, but first,
all you grill masters, listen up. Didier Ranch delivers premium quality beef that is 100% raised in Oklahoma right to your front door. Go to didierranch.com, DIDIER ranch.com to order one of their premium quality beef boxes and use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Filet, ribeye, New York strips, sirloin, steak burgers, they've got it all, and they ship anywhere in the continental U.S., and Oklahomans get their deliveries in just 1 to 2 days. The only thing better than having a lot of premium beef on the O and D line is having premium beef delivered right to your front door. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and some ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it is the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood. All right, back to the interview. Now, you guys, your album titles. And I don't know, can we talk about the album title for this one?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Oh, yeah.
How hard is it to pick a title with only 5 syllables time after time after time? You've really put yourself in a corner with that.
Sometimes very easy, like the first 3, which happen to all coincidentally be 5 syllables, and that's where it kind of came from. Then we cornered ourselves with superstition. And sometimes it's easier than other times. This time, Caleb sent me, not exaggerating, I'll make it like legit, probably about 50 or 60 titles, somewhere in there. They would be in bunches. And it would be like, yes, like this one, that's cool. And just kind of.
Yeah, if we're having a conversation and you say something and you see me go like, oh, like a dog, it's because I've realized that what you said was 5 syllables and it's cool. But I had written down, like, we were on vacation and I was trying to be positive. And my wife said something, she was like, actual nightmare. And I was like, Okay, let's be positive. I'm what actual daydream. Okay, let's change that narrative, which it ended up being a song on the album, but that was my first album title. And then I felt like as it was coming and I felt like stress of it, I just to myself just went like, can we please have fun? And I wrote that down. And then as we went through all the lists, some were cool and some were mysterious, but just kept coming back to, can we please have fun? And because when I said it at the studio, Jared and Kid both went like, huh? And it just felt fitting for the time, because it feels like, every time you try to enjoy yourself, it's like, don't look at your phone because something bad's probably happening. Something's going to bring you down. And I just wanted us to enjoy the process, and I meant like, can we please have fun making this record? Can we please have fun doing what we do? And it was, whenever I said it out loud and I feel like the label people heard it, they all went like, oh, that's good. We can work with that.
Yeah, we've always been kind of like serious almost to a fault with like a lot of things and poetic and like only by the night. I think like when we came up with that one, it came from like a poem, like something kind of silly. And there was just something silly about this and almost like absurd. And it just reminded me of like Talking Heads or something back. There was a time in music where it was not so serious. And you could kind of like Talking Heads had an album called Cross-Eyed and Painless, just like weird. And we used to be weird. We were very, very weird.
And cross-eyed.
Very painful. Very painful. No, so just a light-hearted kind of thing. It just almost felt like the opposite of what you would expect. And a lot of people are not going to like it. They're going to be like, I don't like the thought of you guys being like silly or lighthearted. Like you guys are kind of a serious band and like anthemic. A lot of those words come up, but it just felt cool and it felt right.
And it puts a different kind of pressure on you when you say something like, can we please have fun? People go like, oh, it's going to be a silly, fun record. This record has more depth than anything we've ever done. It has the peaks and the valleys like nothing we've ever done. It has your fun moments, I guess, but like the lyrics are, there's some head scratching things where you listen to it and go like, whoa, that's, deep, or wow, can't believe they said that, but those bands that he's speaking of that had those kind of albums, they backed it up. They backed up their silly title with like solid music. And that's what we did. There was nothing about the music that ever felt silly or tongue in cheek or anything. It was always like, we're down to business here, but we're going to enjoy the process. And I think when people hear it, it's going to be their escape. It's going to be that thing that they can go to while the world's burning around them or whatever, and just go like, oh, okay, this brings me back. This music does that for me.
Mm-hmm. And the album itself allows you to have a title like that. If it was all fun, we would never have done that. So, you see the title, Can We Please Have Fun? You put on the album and the first song is pretty dark. So it's going to be a fun ride.
How about the recording? Do you guys record all your albums kind of in the same place? Like how is that done? Because you guys have a very distinct, unique sound that is definitely you guys. Is that something you aim for every time, or just like how does that whole process work?
We've done a ton of studios, tons. You're always kind of trying to, switch things up and keep the mojo there. For the what?
I was going to say the studio that we chose for this one, it was not because it was a good studio. It was a vibe. The little cottage that we had rented to kind of start the initial process, next to it was this big wooden structure. And they're like, oh yeah, that's the actual studio. And it was like kind of spooky. And like I say, it was like dark hanging clouds. And Jared started playing a bass line, and first lyrics out of my mouth, I was like, there's a home up on the hillside. And I was speaking of the studio. And as I said it, I knew, I was like, oh, that's where we're going to make this record. And we went in, they didn't have the gear we loved. We kind of had to spend money to like make it our own. But it was one of those things where it was like, this is where it has to happen. We felt it, the whole process. We knew like that was where Can We Please Have Fun should be made. And then we ended up at the end, because we had more songs and Kid had to go back to LA. We went to LA, went to what's it called? Henson Studios, and did 2 more songs. So that Henson Studio we have worked in before, but it's also just like, that's where they recorded We Are the World.
Yeah. That's having a little moment.
It's Charlie Chaplin's old studio. So there's so many cool little things about that studio. But
yeah. To your point about the sound and Kings of Leon sound, most of that it's more heavily leaning on instruments. You know, Caleb's used the same guitar since the very first album. You know, a lot of the same amps and same basses and drums. I've still got my first bass that I had since I was 15 years old. So that is probably a little bit more important than the studio. Studio, you're kind of just going for vibe and hope that they have good enough equipment that, you know, you can record on it.
By the time people watch this or listen to this, Mustang will be out. What goes into picking the first single to release? Who all makes that decision?
Not me. I usually kind of back out of that. Once it goes from the process of creating, and then it goes to all right, what is going to be successful, commercial, that's when I kind of start to feel a little dirty. So I kind of I let other people make those decisions. Jared's big on that. He can listen and, you know.
I've taken a couple of swings and misses, so I've taken myself out of that one too. But no, the goal, the dream is to write an album that there's nothing on there that you would be embarrassed. If there's something that you're like, oh, I don't want that to be a single, then it probably shouldn't be on the album. You know, so
Sex on Fire. No.
Caleb wanted it to be a B-side.
I did. I think you use somebody too. Yeah. I can usually sense when something has potential, and I'm like, don't put that on the record.
Yeah, that was the only bad part about this album is he had no B-sides. So we're like, damn it. No, but the record label it's a collection of smart people, you know, like, and they do this for a living and they know what's what. So you just hope to give them an album and you're proud of the whole thing. And you like every song and they're all your kind of babies. And you say, look, you tell us what you think should be the first single and just go with it.
Having said that, though, we made the album without a label. So
yeah,
when the new label came around with, you know, their ideas and suggestions, luckily we're all like, yes, we're on board with it, because there's that part of me that's like, wait, we didn't make this for you, you know, we made this for us. Why would we listen to anyone else? But it was one of those things that when we finished the album, I really felt like it no longer belonged to us, and we got to enjoy the best part of the process, and now it belongs to the world. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I have a good feeling about Mustang, though, because it's just, like I say, I feel like it's time for people to kind of let loose a little bit and have something to make them move. And it's definitely got that.
Yeah, it says, are you a Mustang or a kitty? I'm thinking, OU football, use the horses.
Got to get it back.
When we're playing LSU,
Missouri.
There's so many kitties on the schedule next year. Are you a Mustang or a kitty?
I love it. Now, let me ask you this. When you've got the finished product, it's done. It's been engineered. They've mixed it. It's done. And they're sending it for your final approval. Where do you listen? Do you listen at home on a good set of headphones? Do you listen in the car when you're driving around town? Like, where do you do your final listen to give the thumbs up? Or do you even do that?
I do exactly both of those things. I've got like some good headphones that I listen to, and then I listen to my car. And then honestly, sometimes I'll listen to it on iPhone just to kind of
Yep.
see because a lot of people are just casual listeners. How do you listen?
I mean, I've in the past had trouble listening. One of those things, once the process is done, it's kind of like I don't want to hear it. And I
Because
would
you'll
usually
think about like second guess some decisions you made or what?
yeah, just kind of like, you guys you hear your voice back, right? It used to be like on your answering machine, you'd hear yourself and be like, that's not me. I sound like that. And that's kind of how the music was always for me. But this one, it was the first time that I kind of hesitant. I was hesitant to listen. And when I listened to it, I was just so proud. Like I have this in my house, I have about a half a mile little walk that I do in the mornings. And so I used to do that walk while I was writing, while I was thinking about like what should we do? How can I take this? Blah blah blah. And so after the album was finished and we finally got it sent to us, I had like some little headphones and I went on that same walk, but it was a real full circle moment. This is a little embarrassing, but it was a full circle moment. And I was listening on the very walk that a lot of it kind of came about. And when I heard it, I actually dropped like to my knees and like cried. It was strange, but it was one of the first times where I felt like so fulfilled. I was like, oh my God, like I just felt like, man, we really did it. Like we really had a goal. And sometimes you have goals and it's just like, oh, it was that close. It was that close. If only I could get off the field against Kansas, we would have won. You know what I mean? But it's like you have those moments. And this one, I was like, man, we finished the job, and I could feel it, and I was in the place that it was born. So yeah, that was kind of how I listened to it. I didn't make it very far without crying though.
I'm fired up now. Full disclosure, I've heard a lot of the album and I'm very, very excited, but hey, relax. Now, this is the last music question I have.
I'm going to play it for you, buddy.
Yeah, this is the last music question I've got, and then we could talk some football. Touring is so important now, from what I understand, for musicians. You guys have announced a tour, U.S. tour, European tour. Just with how excited you are about this new music, does that make touring more fun? Like having the positive vibrations, as you guys have talked about this. Does that make you more excited to go out and go through some of the pains that come with touring, but just with how much positivity and excitement you have about this album?
You have no idea.
Yeah.
It's like we are so stoked. That to me is kind of like when the whole thing bears fruit. You know, you work in the studio and then people get to hear it, and then you get to take it out on the road and play those songs live, and you get to just start over. It's like a full roster turnover.
And those songs they have a different life. You know, we play songs now from album 1, 2, 3, whatever, that were kind of album tracks. And when we start them in a live show, it's like a big moment because those songs, even though they never were on the radio, never hit the charts, people have lived with them. And so they are something new, you know, every time you hear it, it's part of their life. And I text the guys yesterday, I think, because, you know, you start to see like reactions, and I was like, hey guys, let's not let ourselves get worked up over the instant reactions, and like let's not focus on that. Like we did our part. Time to move on. Now we go and create the live show that no one's ever seen. Now we go to the next phase. You know, instead of sitting here, like this is people's time to live with the music. We know what the music is. Now let's take the music and amp it up for the live show. And we've got ideas and very lofty goals set for ourselves. And I know we're going to pull it off because we're not going to stop until we do. But I can already see what the beginning of the show looks like, I think. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun.
Well, when you picture the show, what venue do you picture it in? Do you have like a favorite place that you guys have played or played multiple times?
There's a few really special ones. I think when
say Hyde Park, because I'm coming to the Hyde Park show.
Hyde Park is up there. I mean,
I was going to say Kane's Ballroom, but we'll go Hyde Park.
Nice.
No, the Hyde Park is sick, but it's different, because you're outside and you're dealing with natural light. The sun's still up, and then you get the sunset in the middle of the show. So that does change some things. When you're thinking about the show that Caleb's probably talking about that we're going to have, you kind of think arena, dark, like your forums in LA, Madison Square Garden, stuff like that. In that world, those are all
Something where
we're not playing Madison Square Garden though. So I probably shouldn't have said that one.
Not yet. Next year we're doing 7 nights though.
Yeah.
But yeah, those kind of things you can control the elements. So in your mind, you're like, oh, this is what the backdrop would look like. But I mean, if you're talking about just like stuff that you can't control, the venues that come to mind for me are like the Gorge in Washington. Obviously, everyone loves Red Rocks because it's kind of a built-in look. But yeah, Hyde Park is that, that's on the bigger side of things where it's like we don't really control the weather in London.
And you can only see the first, 200,000-300,000 people,
exactly.
And then it's just a blur.
We don't control the weather in London, but we do have the people, so we can play the big places there. And they'll be drunk and love every second of it if we suck or not. So,
well, that's awesome. Now, OU football.
MGTF.
Yes.
Guys talking football.
Yes.
Nice. That's good.
All the fans who have just been going 15 second, 15 second, 15 second, 15 second.
They'll talk about it eventually. They'll get to OU Texas. They'll get there. Oh, it's still about music.
If you scroll at the bottom, they have the little things that show you what's next.
We watch on or listen on different platforms.
Yeah, when you guys go on your basketball rants, I'm like, I don't follow the Thunder.
Man. Come on.
I'm sick of hearing about Porter Moser leaving or getting fired or something. I'm like, not from you guys. You guys are always very cordial, but I look at a lot of other things and they're like, oh, he's out of here. I
like him.
Let's
like
keep it to football then. You guys, as long as I've known you, you've been big OU fans, but both of you feel like you're as into it as you've been in years. Why the resurgence?
I feel like everybody kind of fell off maybe a little bit around the COVID time. I think that probably with a lot of sports and just, a heavy time, and you didn't know if they were going to play and the empty stadiums and things like that. So when it did come back, it's like, we're back, and everybody got back. And for me, it's just something about Brent. What gets me in, I'm a big recruiting guy, and Brent is a big time. He's great recruiting. We have not had defensive recruiting in so long. So seeing us sign 5 stars on the defensive side of the ball is just like, okay, I'm back. I feel like I'm playing NCAA football, which I will be in a couple of months. But pulling 5 stars on defense with PJ and then Peyton Bowen and David Stone this year, it's a new era.
We have a lot of good recruiting coaches. I could just rattle off your Brandon Hall stuff. Everyone's just killing it right now. But also Jared and I, Kings of Leon, everyone considers us an Oklahoma band because we grew up, in and around Oklahoma. Matthew and Nathan are born in Oklahoma City. Well, Jared and I are born in Memphis, Tennessee. So there's that part of us that does have that SEC kind of, we've always had to answer as why Oklahoma wasn't, why they could make it to the game but not finish and all this stuff. And when BV showed up, the promise of a defense was like, finally, we can go sit down at a restaurant and not hear some idiot who's a Tennessee fan or a
Arkansas fan
or a Mississippi
Arkansas
or South Carolina or
Arkansas fans I get into for some reason the biggest fights with ever. They think that they are, but whatever. Go on.
But anyways, it's like now there's that feeling of like, well, first of all, we're in the SEC now, but we're not just here to be in the SEC. We're here to shock the world and have a top defense in the SEC. And man, I'm so fired up. And I know it's a process, and I'm not one of those people that's like, if you don't do it in year one, I'm disappointed. Like, I enjoy the process. And I look at our career, and it's the same kind of thing. You have your big moments, and then you have those years where it's like, what is happening? And then when you get back on top, it was like, oh, those were necessary years. Like, we had to have those to get back here. So those years of complacency or having a coach that was only about offense and didn't care how many points people scored on us, like, those were necessary because we're turning a page and OU is about to be the dominant football program, university. I mean, we already got softball and everything else, but we're about to be the dominant program that in our hearts, we always have been. And we're just about to show the world.
Giants waking up.
Fired up, man.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first, attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at Insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
All right, back to the interview.
It's going to be fun. Now, are any sentimental Big 12, like we're going to miss it at all? Or is it we're done with that? We're on to the SEC 100%. You going to miss any of those rivalries or anything?
It's not the rivalry as much as it feels like the Big 12 is wholesome. It's like got a little bit of a Midwestern, everybody's just kind of the whole town rooting for your team. We're in the SEC now. It's dirty. Like I say, we're from Tennessee. We know the South is dirty. And this isn't going to be your, don't put your horns down. That's not going to be the case. This is going to be, we're fighting in the parking lot. And hopefully, the fans are ready for it. I'm fired up for it. But yeah, there is that Midwestern kind of Big 12 thing that I'll always hold, a part of it. But
I hate them.
I'm excited to not have to go and play some of those teams.
Yeah, I don't. We're holding them up. I don't like Texas Tech and Baylor and all these teams. I don't want to play them again. I don't need to. We were there. Now we're playing on kind of an even playing field where it was like that was all they wanted to do was beat us. We were the walking target for all of those teams. Bedlam, you'll miss for sure.
Well, Teddy, back in your day, was it the Big 8? 10 or Big 12?
Big
It
12.
was Big 12. Well, for
Wow,
him,
he thinks
I
you're
know.
so old.
well, I don't remember when
It's Big 12.
I don't remember when it happened. I don't remember when the change happened.
Yeah.
I was around for I was a fan of the Big Eight.
And they had plastic helmets when you.
But what I was trying to say is when you guys won the Natty, the Big 12 was stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I'm a firm believer that in the steel sharpens steel. You get to a place in a conference where it's just not, you don't have that strong competition. So
We've
even
been sleepwalking, is what I said. We've been sleepwalking.
absolutely, even the best teams have those little slip up games. Well, now you're going into a league where it's every week. It's like, all right, you got to put your best stuff out there, which is how it was when you were doing your thing. And I really believe, even if we take our lumps here and there, it's going to make our football team dominant because we are going to have to step up to the challenge.
Oh yeah.
Looking at last season, what was your guys' favorite moment? I know you came to the UCF game, and that one was a little tighter than we wanted it to be. But what was your favorite moment of the 2023 season for the Sooners?
I mean, Texas gave me the flu.
Come on.
I literally got, I don't know if it was the flu, but that game stressed me out so bad. And then winning and screaming at the end of it got me sick for like a week. I told Martha, I was like, I think I'm like really just worn out by that game, and woke up the next day and I was like, no, I have the flu. That game just knocked me out of commission. But it was
We'll remember it forever as the flu game. That's your flu game.
No, I mean, there's nothing better than that. I don't think I haven't been that happy in so long. Coming off of 49-0, it's like we needed that. The program needed it. And then Stutzman, Mr. Communion himself, just like that whole video that came out of him in the locker room. It was a real highlight of my fandom, much less the season.
Same for me. I mean, there were so many great moments. A lot of them were just kind of like we snuck by with Billy's pick six and BYU, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Texas game, I was at my farm. I have a 5-year-old son. He was only 4 at the time, and my daughter is 11. I mean, my office is all OU stuff. It's kind of I used to make fun of, like, we'd go see our dad and stuff and our uncles. I was like, it's funny, like when they wake up in the morning, it's just like, which OU shirt am I going to wear today? It's not like, hey, I'm going to put together an outfit. It's like, and I mean, when you show up to family reunion, it's like, ooh, where'd you get that shirt? Oh, look at, So my kids, my daughter especially, knows I'm a Sooner fan. But the way that the Texas game unfolded, the noise that was happening from me, the sounds that was happening for me, and just a lot of me looking at my wife going, babe, we got a shot. We got a shot. We're going to win. We're going to beat them. And my 4-year-old son, after that game, the next 3 days, we had to watch the game again. So like we would start, he would wake up and be like, I want to watch Oklahoma beat Texas. I said, you're damn right you do. And we'd watch it every day. And so now the whole family's just locked in.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, what about this upcoming season? What games have you the most excited? Obviously, some good home games, Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama at home, and then road venues at LSU, at Auburn, at Ole Miss. There's some good stuff to choose from.
It's incredible. Tennessee is going to be huge. Is it the first SEC game?
Yep.
I think so. We're from Tennessee. We have a lot of friends who are Tennessee fans, and they were big talkers. And then when we beat them 2 times in a row this decade, they kind of quieted them down a little bit. But
we have a lot of Ole Miss buddies.
Yeah.
And they want us to fly down.
Because they're convinced 100% that they're going to like beat us badly. Like,
Well,
not
yeah,
one of
I mean,
them.
if I spent nearly $20 million on my roster, I'd be convinced too.
Yeah.
But I hear LSU is like hostile, and it's like, I want all the smoke. Let's go. I'm not here to hide and, wear a t-shirt that doesn't say that I'm an OU fan because I'm scared if we lose, I'm going to, like I say, get beat up in the parking lot. I want all the smoke. Any games that we can go to, I want to be there. And I think OU Texas, I mean, we're coming for them again. I think we got a repeat victory there. And if we're putting our schedule together right now, but in my mind, I think Kings of Leon should be playing a concert in Dallas the night before the OU Texas game.
I think it's going to happen.
Welcome everyone.
Ooh.
And we said the football team, drinks on the house.
For Texas.
Yeah, Texas. As much alcohol as they want.
Yeah, we're going to give steroids.
Yeah, anything they want. Come on, you come meet the band. We'll take you on the bus, keep you there till 3 a.m, whatever you want to do.
Ted, that could be a rough broadcast for us the next day.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
I do think, though, that if you got in a fight in the parking lot at one of the games, the ticket sales for the tour would just go through the roof. I mean, that's the type of publicity you need when you're out on tour. That would be great.
They would, as long as the people we're fighting are our height, weight, and below average fighters.
We could pay someone to get their ass kicked. We could. That's easy.
The caddy from Happy Gilmore, Caleb's shaking him in the parking lot.
Now, Jared, like you mentioned, you're a huge recruiting guy. As we look forward to the 2024 season, what player or a couple players that are new additions to the team are you guys most excited about?
I love the defense. For me, it's just you kind of with Jackson being young and the O-line questions, you kind of everybody's banking on the defense being good. You kind of have to, and you brought back so much. So I would love to have an awesome defensive team. It win games freaking 14-3. I don't care. But yeah,
Stone, Jaden Jackson.
Jaden Jackson is a guy that I just think he could be a sneaky guy. David Stone, everybody, you're all looking at him, but I have a feeling Jaden Jackson could be sneaky good. The running back, man, that would be a dream if he just came out. Tatum, if he just came out and got playing time and actually, was just like a little spark, kind of like, when Derrick Henry was a freshman and was behind Ingram, I think. I think
Devon Mitchell's going to get on the field and pretty quickly stand out. I mean, we're talking about Hyde Park and our British fans and everything. Ooh. So I think the Bruv is going to show up too.
Daniel
Akinkumi. And Danny Okoye, also another guy I think is going to.
Oh yeah,
and
he's a freak.
I'm also high on Andy Bass. I know he got injured and stuff, and this won't be a season, but I'm high on him.
Quarterbacks could be good. Is it Michael Hawkins?
Hawkins, yep.
Zerberg. You never know. Those guys could. Jackson gets hurt, you're going to have Michael Hawkins Jr. out there. Who do we have left?
Casey Thompson.
Casey Thompson. Forgot about him.
Now, did you guys panic at all, like a bunch of people did at the bowl game, with the turnovers and stuff and
only about what people would say. I was just panicking, thinking about all my SEC buddies just going like, this is your guy. Cause I give it to them a little bit, like asking them, I'm like, is Jackson Dart staying around? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, good. I want him. I knew I was going to get it.
I had a lot of positive.
Sorry.
Oh, we've got a new addition.
He's just floating around in the back there.
I love that. Hi, Nathan.
What was I saying?
Were you panicking about
no.
Arnold?
Yeah, not at all, man. I was seeing only positives. I expected there to be like some hiccups. I didn't know Arizona was great. I feel like OU has that thing where we play a team and then it like awakens, and then like the next season people are talking about them. I was like, yeah, everybody hated on them when they beat OU, but now it's,
Worst case scenario, they beat us, looked incredible, and then lost their coach.
Yeah.
And so now next year they'll go 7-5, and people will be like, that team beat you?
No, they still got Fafita and those guys. But yeah, I didn't. I felt very positive coming out of that game, except obviously Farouk had
Little Butterfingers.
a little bit, but the only fear that or anything the seeds of doubt that are planted is just like, can we finish? Can we finish these games that we get? And I know we ended up winning some close ones this year that we wouldn't have won the year before. But what I would love is for OU to finish before the end of the game so that we don't have to sit on the edge of the seat every game, go like, oh, we did it.
Yeah.
I want to just dominate somebody.
Yeah, some people like those kind of nail-biter games. I hate them. I love blowouts. God. Yes.
Well, boys, I got bad news for you. I don't know how many SEC blowouts there are going to be. That may just be life moving forward.
Well, we'll get Vandy on the schedule soon enough.
That's the dream, dude. I think we manifested OU to go to the SEC just so we can play an away game at Vandy and have all our buds come to Nashville. That'd be a fun one.
I'm coming to stay with you for the entire week.
Yeah.
That would be 2025. Hopefully Vandy is a road game. We should have them on the schedule.
Texas plays at Vandy this year, so I can't imagine they would send Oklahoma. It'll probably be Vandy at OU next year or something. I hope not, but.
Well, Ted, you come stay with me, buddy.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yes.
Boys, you have successfully flexed your OU football knowledge. You just basically listed the entire roster, including the recruiting class. That was pretty impressive. But guys, I'm fired up, man. Just hearing you guys talk about how excited you are for the new music. I can't wait for people to hear it. May 10th, full album will be out.
Yeah.
Check the tour dates. Go buy tickets, people. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate the time, boys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
How cool was that?
Good stuff, man. That was awesome.
My hope is that one day I will create something. I will say something so profound and moving on this podcast that it forces you to drop to your knees and cry. It hasn't happened yet, but one day, Ted, one day it could.
I feel like that happens constantly with our great listeners out there. They're walking around, they're listening to the podcast, and every now and then, whenever you see someone do that, that's what they must be listening to the final shot from McCollum, us talking about against Oklahoma State. I don't know, but that was funny. That was good.
Yeah, some really cool stories from those guys in that interview. Now, if you haven't listened to Mustang, their single that has been released, I'm not sure you're going to find a bigger fan of it than my 2-year-old. He's just walking around singing it now, and I sent him some videos. Like, he is belting it. It's pretty fun. I'm excited.
Awesome.
I'm excited for the rest of the album. Seems like Mustang has been received very well, overwhelmingly positive reviews for the song. So I'm fired up for those guys, and I was pumped that they came on with us.
No, that was awesome. I'm excited for him too. Sometimes what you're doing feels like a job, and other times it feels like it's what you're meant to be doing, and that's what vibes they're giving on this album, which is awesome.
Them being so excited has me excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if they're excited about it, then it's already a success, in my opinion.
I also may start saying vibrations instead of vibes. Just sounds way cooler. They kept saying vibrations.
They did. I wanted to ask, does that mean we've got like a Marky Mark Good Vibrations cover on this album or something?
I don't know. It may just enter my lexicon. Vibrations. Like Birthday shout outs. Welcome to the world. Baker Noel Britt and Scotty Bell Britt.
Nice. Happy first birthday to future OU equipment manager Liam Dunn.
You know there's a story there.
Oh, yeah.
Happy third birthday to Inslee May Calvert.
Happy 10th birthday to Kirk Faulkner.
Happy 16th birthday to Gabriel. Great name. Gabriel Moose Caffey.
Happy 57th birthday to Brian Mallow.
On that note, episode 399 in the books. Scheduled to have a fun guest for episode 400. We'll see.
Man, 400. That's big time.
We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great start to your week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.